Vigyan Bhairava Tantra. Hello, friends. I'm back. I was on a pilgrimage around Guru Purnima in Ladakh, right next to the Chinese border, and visiting many monasteries and experiencing stillness, silence, joy, and oneness. So I'm on my way back to the United States, and right now doing doing a couple of events in London, in England, on women empowerment and the divine feminine. But I thought I'd start resuming a bit of the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, and there are 112 techniques. Some of them a little redundant, but each of us responds differently. So sometimes the redundancy helps. Today, I want to share with you a combination of techniques that takes us back to the source of all experience, which is essentially fundamental reality, which is the self of the individual, which is also the self of the universe, Atman, Brahman. And the universe, of course, is referred to as Brahman, the vibration of Brahman. Almost like Brahman supports string theory, where every particle in the universe is basically the vibration of a string that has infinite vibrations. But now let's do a little exercise and see how we can experience that. Incidentally, I saw reported in Nature an article that said that the debate between Christoph Koch and David Chalmers. David Chalmers won the first round as philosophy, giving us a better idea about consciousness than neuroscience. But I disagree. Neither philosophy nor neuroscience or any system of thought can actually give us the experience of reality or even ourselves, which is the only reality we have, is the self. Because without the self, there is no experience. It is the self that modifies itself into all experiences. So let's try this combination of techniques right now. Listen to the sound of my voice. Notice that the sound is intermittent, that every time you hear my voice, it arises from silence. Then you hear the sound and then it disappears back into silence. So the source of all sound is silence. Okay. Now notice colors and shapes and forms. So notice the forms on your screen. Me in front of you, the door, the minibar at the back, and so on. Notice that colors, shapes, and forms can only arise from that which is formless. Every color, if you trace it back to its source, it ends up into a domain that is without color. The source of all color is that which is colorless. Touch your skin, feel the sensation, and trace back the sensation to its source. And that source has no sensation. Smell, something, including your hands, trace it back to its source. And the source of all odor or fragrance has no odor and has no fragrance. Taste something, anything, and notice and be aware that the origin of that taste, of that flavor, has no flavor. Create an image in your mind. Just now, think of a starlit sky or the full moon or snow-clad mountains or a red rose. Any image, you can create any image in your mind just now, just by thinking about it. Think of the Empire State Building, a rainbow, a green meadow, red roses, and then go back to the source of this imagination, and that which imagines cannot be imagined. Ask yourself what my next thought is going to be. Observe the thought coming. It comes out of emptiness. You observe the thought. It resolves into emptiness. So every sensation, every perception, every thought, every feeling, every sound, every texture, every taste, every smell, everything that we can even call an object, think of this as an object. It is an object, right? But replace the word object with the word experience. Then ask, where is this experience happening? Where is this sound happening in silence? Where is this sensation coming from that which is without sensation? Where are these colors emerging from? From that which is colorless, on and on. So any object, any form, any sound, any perception, any image, any thought, any feeling, in other words, any experience can be traced back to that which is totally formless, empty, without boundaries, without shape, shapeless, formless, infinite, boundaryless, non-conceptualizable, unimaginable, irreducible, timeless and spaceless. What is it that experiences space and time? You experience space and time. And you that experience space and time is an awareness that is obviously not in space-time because it is experiencing space-time. You that experience this theater of space-time and causality is independent and free of the experience of space-time and causality. So that which we call I or I am is causeless, is spaceless, is timeless, is infinite, is formless, and is not subject to birth or death, because birth and death are the fluctuations and the alchemy of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts that appear as the body and the universe. The body and the universe go together. But what about the ego? What about the mind? What about the intellect? Well, they too are subtle objects on the screen of consciousness. Therefore, the subject of all experience is one. Every experience arises from that oneness, returns to that oneness. Doesn't matter what that experience is. It could be a galaxy. It could be the moon, it could be the sun, it could be the stars, it could be the rocks, it could be insects and mosquitoes and human beings and doors and bottles and furniture. It could be anything that you can give a name or that appears as a form in some way or the other. Whether it's the mind, the intellect, the ego, the subtle body, the physical body, the physical universe, trace them back to their source, and we are left with the infinite you, the divine presence in which the whole universe is arising, appearing, and subsiding as soon as it arises. The continuity comes because the arising and the subsiding is extremely fast, and one cannot see the gaps between the frames of perceptual snapshots. So one cannot see the little or hear the little space between sound. But that space, it's little and it's also enormous because it's one. The little space between my fingers is one with intergalactic space. And that which experiences that intergalactic space is spaceless, incomprehensible, unimaginable, irreducible, fundamental, infinite, beyond space-time and causality, is the divine self. And everything is a modification of that divine self. There's no hard problem of consciousness. Neuroscience is an activity in consciousness. Philosophy is an activity in consciousness. And consciousness alone, or awareness alone, is the divine self. And you are that. I am that. All this is that. All this is that. And that alone is. That alone is Tattvamasi, the divine being that appears as all forms, all phenomena. The phenomena and forms are impermanent and in time. And that includes this body mind, which is an activity, a changing activity in that same oneness. In that divine oneness, we are born. In that divine oneness, we are sustained. And in that divine oneness, we submerge only to resurrect again. Creation, maintenance, destruction, concealment, revelation, resurrection, all is the one divine differentiating into infinite forms and phenomena. Every form is a phenomenon, and every phenomenon is a fluctuation of the self. Focus on this. Be aware of this. Be aware of the formless in every experience. Every experience. Look at your body and experience it as formless. Look at this and trace it back to its formless source. Hear sounds. Trace them back to the formless absence of sound. And soon, let that become your internal reference point. And when that internal reference point is infinite, you will see the infinite in every direction. The divine will not be difficult to find. The divine is impossible to avoid, because in that divine presence, the whole universe is rising and subsiding in timeless now. I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but as I experience the divine, everywhere I go, there is only one word to describe it. It is love. Love is the ultimate truth at the heart of creation. It is joy. It is bliss. It is deathless divinity. So, a little bit of this exercise can liberate you. More soon, and happy trails.